Bienvenidos and welcome to Inside the UPSL on TVE Max and TVEmax.com. And you can also find us on Twitter at UPSL Soccer. I'm your host, Alex Naveja. Alongside with me is Dennis Pope and Carlos Torres. And we're going to be here every Thursday so that you, the fans, the coaches, and the players to get an in-depth look at America's fastest growing pro development soccer league, the UPSL. The United Premier Soccer League, home to some of the best developing players and coaches from all over the world. And we're going to be talking about the UPSL's biggest news and newsmakers for the next 60 minutes. As we go ahead and go starting off with off the top, let's go ahead and start off right away with the kick. And let's talk about this Saturday's game, the UPSL Fall Championship Final. It's Cal United taking on the Inocentes at LA Harbor College. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and kick it off, and let's go ahead and break down this game. I'm going to start off with Dennis. What are you expecting going into this game? Are we expecting a bullfight? Are we expecting just a 0-0 game? Is it going to be an all-out offense? What are we expecting?
Well, I definitely think that Cal United FC2 hasn't played a team of the caliber of Inocentes this season, so they're going to face a very difficult matchup. The matchup that they had in the Western Conference Final against Jazza Redwood City was also very difficult for them, and I think this will be another step in a more competitive way for Cal United. What can Inocentes do to slow down Cal United, though, will be the big question. Cal United has been scoring a ton of goals all season. That game against Jazza was a 1-0 victory, so it was very tight for them, and then, of course, they did lose that U.S. Open Cup game against Cal FC, and so they're running off a very tight competitive series of games coming into this, and so it'll be interesting to see where Cal United is. I don't want to give a result, but it's going to be a close match. It's not going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a one-goal, maybe extra time kind of situation for this game, and I think that would make a great situation for the fans, right, to see some extra soccer. Definitely. So, it's going to be a very competitive match. It's going to be a UPSL final to remember for sure.
I definitely think that Jazza game for Cal United was definitely a big game for them, and I think that was one of the shockers for Cal United. Them being an offensive juggernaut in the league, scoring 74 goals going into the game against Denver, but being able to go into that game and just going 1-0, scoring in the 87th minute was actually pretty big. But Carlos, I know you wanted to add a couple more notes to this interesting matchup.
Right. Well, as we know, Cal United being a very technical team, Inocentes coming off a great win versus Germantown City. These teams are both very physical, but also very technical at the same time. They both like to exploit certain spaces and take advantage of their opportunities. So we're definitely going to see a high-paced, physical game, but it's also going to be very technical, and you're going to see the tempos of the game slow and speed up every once in a while. So definitely going to be something to watch out, especially the fans are going to have an enjoying game.
I think one thing is going to be for sure, I really think the Inocentes fan base is going to travel pretty well. I think they do. There's usually fan base for the Inocentes. So I definitely think there's going to be some fan base there at LA Harbor College. But a lot of people focus a lot in Cal United. I want to focus more on Inocentes. And how do you stop this Cal United offense being so strong offensively? And defensively, they shut down ball games, they shut down ball clubs. What is going to be the key for Inocentes? We focus a lot on Cal United. Let's talk a little bit about the Inocentes.
Sure, I think they're going to have to close down the middle, right? If you shut down the attacking of Christian Gordillo and Paulo Cardozo in the middle, and they have to play wide and send in crosses, it becomes more difficult rather than be able to ping through the middle and find open spaces that way. So I think Inocentes, if they're able to pack the middle, not park the bus necessarily because they still want to break out and do something on the counter, but they're able to stop the balls into the middle, the dribbling through the middle in front of the 18 in front of goal. That'll be objective number one for them defensively.
What about yourself, Carlos?
Definitely. I agree 100% with what Dennis is saying, but also I don't know if you guys caught the interview with Inocentes and Telemundo over in Fort Worth, where one of their players, I don't remember his nickname, they called him some certain nickname, but he said that what they have is brotherhood. They back each other up. So no matter what the score is, no matter what is in front of them, they all back each other up, and I feel like that's a key point going into this game versus a difficult and very offensive style and offensive-minded Cal United.
I want to go ahead and get into detail or a little bit of this. I have two words: dynasty and upstart. I'm going to give you two statements, and I want you guys to fill in the blank with one of these two words. A win for Cal United FC would be dynasty or upstart.
Well, I think it would put them in a trajectory towards making them a dynasty in the UPSL the last few years. The reason I would say that is because the Cal United core, has gone through several different iterations from LA Wolves to OC Invicta and won titles along the way. So this would be another title, a next step in that growth for that club. So if anything comes close, in that sort of way, to start thinking about, a group of players progressing through winning a number of championships in the league, then yeah, you could say it might be a dynasty in that kind of way.
Definitely, I agree 110%. Cal United, like you said, it's a base from different teams. LA Wolves, it all started there. They came into OC Invicta. Now they're Cal United, but along that, route, they did come up with some championships. They did win, I believe, the UPSL Western Conference about 2 years ago as well.
Right.
This past season in the spring, they also won their division. So they're coming off some good trophies. So definitely would be a dynasty.
I can third wheel on that. I can definitely say that they're a dynasty, and especially what they've accomplished this season, making it this far and having such a talented ball club, and just now being here in the final game, being able to go there. So I'm assuming elimination, we're going to go ahead and say for Inocentes, there'd be an upstart?
Nationally speaking, yes. This opportunity, putting them on a national stage, sort of makes them an upstart. But Inocentes was a national quarterfinalist in the UPSL last year. They were the Central Conference champion. They're back-to-back Central Conference champions. So for people in the know that follow the UPSL, they would say this is a progression of sorts for Inocentes. But I think from people looking on the outside, a team from Texas rising up and playing in a national championship is something of an upstart.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Inocentes coming in on their first season in spring. They take that conference title. They go into the quarterfinals. They're eliminated, but they go back home. They work twice as hard. Now they're in the national final. Definitely, I would say an upstart to a great dynasty.
I think if you're Inocentes, you don't want to go home and, that's a long flight home. You don't want to fly all the way home and end up losing it in this one. So I think you just got to go guns blazing if you're Inocentes, and you don't want to have that tragic flight home. You want to celebrate. You want to be happy that you just beat one of the top teams in the UPSL. It'll be a very tough game, but now let's talk about the MVP race, the 2018 Fall MVP race. Who do you guys have, and more specifically, do you think the champion's best team get the pick?
I'll let Carlos go first.
Well, I mean, there's many players on Cal United that have really solidified their role in the club. They're very strong players on and off the ball, but yet they're also role models off the field. So I can definitely say there's a couple players from Cal United that have really, stepped up and taken that captain role. So we can definitely say there's a couple players there that can be potential MVPs going into this UPSL final. But I also feel that there's two players from Inocentes as well. Like I said, that kid with the funny nickname that was on the interview, I feel that he really took charge in that interview. I've seen a couple of the matches. He really does take charge on the field. And like Mario said, his keeper has been somebody that they can really rely on, that backbone that's really helping them move forward into these finals. So we can definitely say there's a 2-2 battle going in for that MVP race for this national final.
So there's a season MVP, right, for the fall season. Of course, the championship game will have its own MVP, unto itself. The larger question I think that you asked was secondarily, does the championship team have a bigger version of its share in terms of a season MVP? That's an interesting question. Obviously, there's somebody or several factors on that championship team that led them to that point. So you would look that way unless somebody else outside sort of the realm of the championship game or the playoffs had some sort of massive season that you can't ignore, right? Where somebody scores 50 goals or does something amazing in a short period of time. But in this scenario, I think you are going to find the season MVP coming from one of these two teams. Specifically, if Cal United wins, I think you're going to see Abraham Villon, one of their strikers, who's just been pouring in goals all year, probably be the name that you find coming from Cal United. And if it is Inocentes that pulls this out, it's going to be partly at least because of their goalkeeper. So I would think those two, if you're going to finalize, two finalists for the MVP race, it would probably be those two people. So striker versus goalkeeper, who wins the national championship, who scores, what happens in the game may determine, who wins the season MVP. So definitely watch that game on Mike Cujo to see what happens.
I like the argument that you made about the goalie, because the goalie's the one that's going to block and deflect everything that Cal United is going to be shooting at the Inocentes. So if you're a talented goalie, you can shut down the offense of Cal United, then I definitely think you should be the MVP as well. Shutting down this offensive team, being able to possibly put them in blank pages. I definitely think a goalkeeper should be an MVP as well.
And he's had a great postseason too. He's won a bunch of shootouts in the playoffs to get them to this point, and so I think he would stand alone on Inocentes as a player to do something. But a goalkeeper is only as good as his back line. You know what I mean? So, it depends on how many shots are getting deflected in front of him and how they play in front of him too. So, it's a team game.
It's definitely a team game, but I feel if the goalkeeper, what he's been doing well, is organizing his back line, so he doesn't really have to deflect as many shots or block as many shots. He's being more vocal to where he has everyone in front of him organized, covering different spaces, so players aren't getting shots off as quick or as easy. So definitely, I feel that his vocal game is going to be a big part for this MVP race.
And that's potentially just as valuable as somebody who scores goals, right? So, how do you like it? How do you like your soccer, offensive or defensive, right? So it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a good race, a great game, and we're really looking forward to it.
I mean, I think people are going to be expecting a really high offensive game between these two, but we'll just have to wait and see on how everything goes this Saturday, as we're going to go ahead and step aside here inside the UPSL. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, along with Twitter on UPSL Soccer. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and interview the man himself, Mario Alcala, the GM of Inocentes FC. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVEMX. And now we're going to go ahead and introduce to you the man of the hour, Mario Alcala, the GM from Inocentes FC. Mario, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. How are you guys?
Pleasure to have you into the show tonight. I just want to ask you a couple of questions about this coming game. First one I'd like to ask is, how significant, how big of a deal is this game for you for this Saturday for the club?
Well, it's the biggest game in club history. We've never played a bigger one than this one. We've been around for a very long time, but this is as good as it gets, so we're excited.
How difficult has the challenge been to be able to make it this far, play against Cal United, one of the premier teams in the UPSL? How difficult And how has the challenges been to reach this far?
Well, I think and firmly believe that we play in one of the toughest conferences in the Texas Central Conference, specifically the North. And I think that's kind of battle tested us throughout the year to prepare for a game like this. Obviously, Cal United is a strong team. You can call them the quote unquote best team in the competition so far. But we're planning to put that record to the test and see if it holds against us.
And how difficult has it been to be able to make it this far and to play against Cal United?
Well, I mean, it's been very tough. We play very tough opponents within our own conference. So just getting out of the Texas Central Conference is pretty rough as it is. Beat a very tough Germantown City team. So we feel like we're battle tested and prepared for the challenge.
Hey, Mario, it's Dennis. That trip to Savannah, Georgia, where you guys played Germantown City, that was the first major road trip that the club has faced. Tell us about that. Have educated you about this trip out to California?
Well, more than anything, I guess on the administrative side, it's just kind of getting everything prepared, make sure the boys don't need anything while they're out there. Just kind of crossing our eyes and darting our eyes and crossing the T's. Is what we learned, and for this trip, we got everything ready. All the major stuff's been booked. Now we just kind of patiently wait to get out there.
Hey Mario, how you doing? It's Carlos here.
Hey, Carlos.
So I really want to get into the game itself. What are some key positions or players that Inocentes have really relied on going into these national playoffs?
Well, I think what makes the team strong is the fact that we don't have to rely on one group or certain players. The whole team is some, the players we depend on. The defense has to be solid. The midfielders have to be ready to work, and the strikers have to be clinical. I think it's a whole group effort, including the goalkeeper. I think if anything, Esteban Vasquez, our star keeper, has been kind of our foundation, and we build from him.
Right. So also, how do you feel Inocentes match up, from position by position with California United?
I mean, I think we have a very talented group of guys. It's kind of hard to tell because we've only seen Cal United in video so far. From the looks of it, I think we match up pretty evenly. Obviously, they're a very talented group of guys. You can see that in the video. They're all confident on the ball, very solid players. We feel we match up equally with them, and I think the difference is going to be, who executes their game plan.
Mario, final question. What does this mean to the ball club to be able to make it here?
I mean, it means everything. Last season, we made it to nationals as well and got knocked out in the quarters. It stung. It hurt pretty badly, and the guys remember that feeling. So being able to qualify now to the national championship, which was our ultimate goal, it's really exciting. It's what we play for. It's what we compete for. And we're here, and we're ready, and hopefully we get the result we want.
Well, this Saturday's game is going to be at 7 o'clock this Saturday at LA College. Thank you so much for being with us, Mario. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome, and thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate everything you guys do and what you're doing for lower level soccer in the United States. I think it's awesome, and hopefully you guys can continue to do what you do.
Mario, thank you for being with us. We're going to go and step aside, but when we come back, it's going to be the final for Mike Ruju Goals of the Year. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And now it is the UPSL My Cujo Goals of the Year. All right, gentlemen, so we have 3 great goals. Now, there can only be one that can be the winner. Who's it going to be? I'm going to start off with Dennis.
He says Ceballos. I say Ceballos. I think it is Robert Ceballos' goal from San Lee. Just like the way he weaves through traffic and fires it off, I think it is the prettiest goal of the 3.
Definitely. You know me, I have to stick with him. He's my gut since the beginning. You know, the way he just goes at those 2 players, creates that space, then is going away from goal, inside of the foot, bangs it top right corner. It's just, you know, it's unreal. It's unreal. It's things that you see when you watch Barca versus Real Madrid. So definitely, I'm going to stick with Ceballos.
I don't know if it's the best goal that we saw all year, but these are the final 3 goals. So yeah, go vote. There's still time left to vote until Thursday night. Pacific, midnight Pacific. You can still vote for the goal of the year, and the winner will win $250. So it is down to the final 3. I think there's been more than 1,000 votes already so far in the final round, getting close to that. So yeah, it's pretty tight. I think the Samba goal is still winning. Emilio Mendez's goal is winning right now.
You're saying already in this round there's already been 1,000 votes?
The total, all between all the goals, yeah. So far.
Okay.
Yeah, not for one particular goal yet, but I think amongst all the votes altogether so far.
Okay.
The whole poll has been about 1,000
Yeah.
votes. So I
That's
really
impressive.
don't even want to ask him who his favorite is, because I kind of already know he's not going to pick Ceballos, because this guy loves to go against me.
Hey, you know what?
does.
I can't bandwagon on you guys. You guys already said Ceballos. I can't jump on that. So my guy's gonna have to be Emilio Mendez. I mean, taking that shot while he's falling off the ground. So that's an off-balance shot. Manages to take the shot right over the fingertips of the goalie. That's pretty impressive too. You can't take anything away from Emilio Mendez from that. Good shot right there, and I hope he takes it. That'll just be a nice little debate, little dispute with Carlos, because we always have our differences. We can never see eye to eye, but we'll go ahead and see how everything ends up. But you guys can go ahead and see the results just like Dennis said. But we're gonna go ahead and step aside. And coming up next, we'll check out what's hot in the East Coast as we swing our way to the East Coast Swing. welcome back to Inside UPSL, presented by TV Max. As we swing our way to the East Coast swing, we're going to first start off with Florida, as Florida Central Division adds Orlando's OFC Barca. So another team joining the UPSL, as we introduce back Dennis Pope along with Carlos Torres. And gentlemen, you'll be able to fill in a little more information about this new team that's coming in.
Carlos, I'll let you start.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, OFC Barca is a team with great tradition. You know, they've won, you know, in the CSO, which is also known as the Continental Soccer League in Florida. They do have this great defender with MASL experience with the Florida Tropics, Juan Pablo Reyes. He's 35 years old.
Say that again?
Juan Pablo Reyes.
I like that.
I like the accent.
He's bringing that experience, you know, from the professional atmosphere into the UPSL. I feel like he's a great asset for OFC Barca.
So
I like their logo is based upon traditional Barcelona. The owner of the team actually owns a company in Florida called OFC Barca Services, so this does have some background there. But the scheme and the idea for the club is based upon the Barcelona model, and they have had success in the past. You know, they did play League and State Cup down in Florida. They were 2014 State Cup champions.
Right.
They played at the USASA National Cup. So this is a team with a pedigree, and I think they're going to be a strong competitor in Florida.
I mean, I would assume that already having the name of Barca in the name of the team, I would think you already have a pedigree alone with being referred to as Barcelona being the team in Spain around there. But, I mean, this team looks like it could be a big deal there in Florida. But we're going to go ahead and move into the Southeast region as the Atlético Olancho Football Club joins from the North Carolina side. What can we be expecting from that?
Olanchano. Atlético Olanchano.
Thank you.
You know, they have a huge base of experienced players, but they're also mixing it in with the young players. So when they bring that older talent with the young, you know, physicality, I feel that this team can definitely bring, you know, some different things to watch in that Mid-Atlantic region.
I think for any team in general, when you mix the youth with the veteran players, I like to say, that's a great way for the youth to learn and get experience from the veterans. That way when the veterans move on to bigger and better leagues moving forward, now the youth can go ahead and be those veterans, and they use the knowledge that the veterans have passed on. And of course there will be younger players coming into the team, and it's just a cycle going forward and just going like that. So it's great to see a team like Olanchanos, see, there you go, I corrected myself, to be able to have such a system like that.
Yeah, they're really successful in the last 3 years too, playing locally there in Carolina, and they're just the next in a group of Carolina-based teams that have joined the UPSL to make that Mid-Atlantic region very, very strong. There's going to be some really tough competition there this spring.
So I'm looking forward to see some tough competition, as you said, moving on to the spring. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the Midwest, as the Michigan Jaguars, along with Turbo Sports and FC Diablos, join in a reshaped look. So give us a little bit of details on this new reshaped look that they're talking about.
Well, I feel that we're going to be implementing a promotion relegation system going into 2020. We're kind of getting a feel for it, see if the teams are ready to make that jump. It'll definitely, you know, prepare the teams for a great future with this promotion relegation system that we are looking to implement in 2020, like I said, spring.
I think you're going to see some of the teams start to separate themselves this season. You're going to start to see a natural progression of teams towards that split, you know, what teams are the haves and the have-nots, and start to work from there. But these three teams specifically are teams that are going to be very competitive, and they're going to be, you know, fighting for spots in the Pro Premier Midwest Conference. I think Michigan Jaguars especially, they have a massive history, youth, as a competitive youth club in Michigan State champions on numerous age groups and levels, and they're just going to continue to build that base and build a strong club there in Nebo, Michigan. I think, you know, they come in and they're just super enthusiastic about joining the league and ready to really make an impact FC Diablos out of Bloomfield, Illinois, I believe. They have a smaller, less competitive history than Jaguars, but they're going to be a good spot, and they are in a good spot. They're just outside of Chicago. And then Turbo Sports out of Michigan. This club is run and operated by a guy named Cephas Dean, who is, sharp as a whip. He's, very quick, very ready to build something with Turbo Sports and to make Turbo Sports something that's an important factor there in soccer in Minneapolis. So all three of these clubs have their positive, outlook, and I think they're going to make a big, big impact there in the Midwest.
It's always interesting to hear about all these new teams developing around, not just hearing around the new California teams. There have been a lot of new California teams, but you're hearing all over the place new teams developing. Alaska, just like you said, around in Illinois and Chicago, around that area, South Carolina. It's nice to see the UPSL now it's starting to expand and teams want to be involved in this league. But we're going to move our way to Texas. Texas, I mean, would you count that as the East?
And for the UPSL, it is on the eastern part. So they are the UPSL East champion if we're going to do an East versus West. Right. So yeah, Texas right now counts as East for the UPSL.
Right,
okay, but if you look at it on the map, it looks like a West, but the UPSL, and they say they have their things, that's the East. But how will having a national semifinalist motivate the other Texas teams? I think this is a really interesting question.
Texas is such a huge factor for the UPSL now. There's such really solid competition happening there, and three different divisions, North, Heart, and South. From Houston to Dallas to even on the western part of Texas now, there's some teams. It's probably, if not Florida, one of the most exciting spots for growth in the UPSL in the last 2 years. And I think, having Inocentes, step up to the plate against Cal United is going to make teams there in Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially say if Inocentes can do it, we've been watching them for a few years, we can do it too. Right, so I think that'll be the thing that flips the light switch for a bunch of clubs there in Texas. Before
we were even going on to the show, you were talking about a lot about since the Inocentes are going to be playing against Cal United, this is going to be a big-time recognition for them. Everyone's going to think of it as, oh, Inocentes played against Cal United, so that's going to allow them to get a lot of recognition, a lot of publicity, and that's going to be a big deal for them. So I'm really thinking that the rest of the Texas teams, they're going to want to be like that, and they're going to want to say, hey, I want to play against a big-time team against Cal United, so let's train hard so that way we can get that publicity. Let's get a bigger fan base, and you know what? I want to be televised worldwide, and I want people to see us play too. I think it's a big deal as well for Texas.
It's not that far away for those clubs. Inocentes has been in the UPSL team now a full calendar year. Right? And they're already playing in a national championship game. So the dream is within grasp, right?
Definitely. I mean, like he said, it's just a calendar year. They've been in 2 seasons, their second season with the UPSL. I feel that Texas is a gold mine, for talent, honestly. We do also have, joining the North division in Texas is OKC as well. We have Oklahoma, is it 1889 or 1989?
1889, right.
OKC 1889 joining us in the North division. So the word's getting out that Central Conference is definitely somewhere to be.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams are going to start to, improve and try to keep up with the Inocentes. It's going to be really interesting to see how things are going to go ahead and move forward as after this season progresses and finishes off. When the spring season comes up, we're going to see if there's any other Texas teams that are going to make their way up and possibly be that next Inocentes team. But that's going to do it for the East Coast Swing. Next, we're going to be saying what's up to the West Coast. What's up? And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Max. We make our way to the West Coast as we first say, what's up, West Coast? We're going to go ahead and start off with the Pacific Northwest as Alaska adds its second team, Cook Inlet SC. Dennis, what's going on with Alaska now?
Oh, there's two teams up there now, so we're a quarter of the way to having a full division. I think it's going to be exciting here this summer. Hopefully, there's a handful more teams waiting in the wings to join on, and it's going to be, you know, something that's fun and new for soccer fans in Alaska. Cook Inlet Soccer Club, Cook Inlet Soccer Club out of Anchorage, Alaska. They're the oldest continuously operated youth club in Alaska. They've made the decision to have a men's pro development team and join the UPSL alongside Alaska City. And so hopefully they'll at least start playing some friendlies and build momentum and get things going there in Alaska. It's going to be tough. You know, the season there is pretty short. They can only play from, you know, April to July, essentially, right? So, you know, they get one crack at it every year, and if weather gets in the way, you know, things could go haywire. But it should be super exciting. I know from the people that I've talked to in Alaska, they're extremely happy that the UPSL has found its way up there. So I think the opportunity to go see some games is what I'm looking forward to up in Alaska. I want to see that road trip and be able to do some media and marketing for those teams up there. I hope everything really, you know, comes to fruition with it and more teams jump on. I think that's the key point, is to build a stable group of teams that can be competitive for at least a few seasons to come.
But you're taking Carlos and I to Alaska too, right?
Yeah, we're going to get on one of those little planes that land in the water and just pull right up into the bay, and there's going to be like a soccer match. That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told.
What? Then Alaska's getting serious about these new developments that they're having, then, huh?
They actually have, from what I've been told. I've never been to Alaska, aside from the family road trip that we took there, but that was like 20 years ago. But actually to see soccer there never happened. But they have indoor facilities, full-size indoor facilities where they can also play. But the idea for these group of teams is to play outdoor games and outdoor spaces and traditional soccer venues there in Alaska. So, you know, we wish them the best of luck, and we're really looking forward to Cook Inlet SC and seeing what they can do in terms of producing their youth club into a pro development setup.
I don't mean to cut you off, Carlos. I know you have your inputs, but they're not going to be frozen solid or anything, are they?
The sun does come out during the summertime in Alaska, so we're hopeful. We're hopeful.
Definitely. I mean, with this project here, it's good for those players that are from Alaska, from Anchorage, from, you know, the surrounding cities, that do go out and play college in other states, you know, because they don't have that competitive sport yet there. So I feel with this team and with this potential division there, it's going to give those players the opportunity to come back from break and maintain their training, you know, maintain that that competitiveness that they translate from college to, like, say, a PDL team to a USL team. You know, so that's kind of what they're looking for, and what they're hoping to do is maintain that that competitiveness to where those players that are from Alaska can come home, be with their family, but also play competitive soccer.
Exactly.
Okay, it looks like they're going to have a bright future now. It's going to be a little warmer in the summer, according to Dennis. There's going to be some heat, some warmth to be able to provide some soccer play. But now we're going to move into to NorCal. Is Contra Costa FC really to be a player in the Wild West?
I think they can. Definitely, they do come from, you know, NorCal, which is known for soccer as well. That's what I feel that they're really good at. You know, San Jose State has a great soccer team. You know, USF has a great soccer team. So the competitiveness is there. I feel that they're going in the right direction to, you know, what it is to be a UPSL contender.
They have a good reputation up there. They're a Liga NorCal champions a couple times. They've done some things in State Cup and some other competitions. So Contra Costa FC comes into the UPSL with a background of teams knowing this is going to be a competitive group. and they stand a pretty decent chance of doing some good things in the UPSL. So I think so. I think everybody's sort of looking at Contra Costa like, if there is a team in Northern California that has come up recently for the UPSL, this might be the team that can change, the spectrum a little bit.
So now we move from the north. Now we're going to go back home over here in SoCal. We're going to go to say what's up to SoCal as we have Engine Total Football joins the recent rush of the inland SoCal teams. A couple of teams that we also have joining. It's Engine Total Football joining the Mafo Inland Valley Wolves and the IE Salsa SC recently added.
Right. These are 3 new teams out there in Riverside, San Bernardino County. Engine Total Football is the most recent. They're out of San Bernardino. Their owner is Robert Delgado. Ron Delgado, thank you. And he is the owner of Engine Motorsports Products. He creates his business creates performance air intakes and manifolds and things for muscle cars.
We're talking about engine?
Yeah, engine, like that's a take on the word engine. I think, anyway, that's their marketing play. But yeah, so, but he comes from also a background as a soccer coach where he's run an academy of sorts and played or coached with travel teams and taken them to places like Sweden and Portugal and Spain and stuff. So this is just a new step for his soccer side of his business. And I think, it's going to be an exciting product out there in San Bernardino. And they do join the other teams, the Mafo Inland Wolves, which is also going to play in San Bernardino, and the IE Salsa group that's operated by Peter Hayson, and they're going to, I think, play in Jurupa Valley.
Around there, yeah.
Right. So, and that joins another, solid group of teams that are out there in the Inland Empire, including City Legends out of Paris. I think Toros Neza is still hanging around and going to come back. And not to mention the Pro Premier teams that are
Inland Empire.
Right, Inland Empire. There's Newcastle out of Upland.
Yes,
right?
Newcastle, right.
And, there's a couple other teams that I'm missing off the top of my head. I think Ontario Fury's coming back.
Fury is back in, yes.
So, the Inland Empire really has a strong core for UPSL, and I think it's growing with these 3 new teams specifically this upcoming season. So, we do wish them the best of luck as well.
I have to give a lot of props to the Engine Total Football. You're going to mix car parts and soccer. That's going to be some pretty cool clientele right there, mixing car parts and automotive and sports.
Believe it or not, in my work in motorsports, in the motorsports industry, there is a strong soccer undercurrent. So a lot of those people do have interest in soccer. So I'm not really surprised to see this kind of, cross promotion kind of situation happening for somebody. And I think it's about time that motorsports, which is always been,
it's evolving.
Yeah, been a big money maker. Starts to share some of that money with soccer.
Definitely. I feel with the these teams joining Engine Total Football, Mafo Wolves, which owned by Luis Loreto Jr., who's an ex LA Wolves player.
Right.
So this is definitely something to keep an eye out. Maybe he's trying to go after Jan Skara, from LA. So it'll be good to watch.
So just a quick question. This is just like me being random, but can we be expecting cool cars coming into these games when Engine Total Football starts playing? Can we expect some cool show cars?
That would be pretty sweet. I'll talk to Ron about that, see if he can bring out some muscle, some heavy muscle out to those games and turn up the volume. I don't know. It might be a little bit of a home field advantage. Right?
Bring in the old school cars, hot rods, or even some of the Japanese cars. That scene's starting to rise up a little bit more.
They do service those. They do have parts for those. So yeah.
They do. So that's going to be it for What's Up West Coast. But you don't want to miss the next part because we're giving you everything about the UPSL Fall Season Final. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV EMAX. As the UPSL Fall Season National Championship will be this Saturday at LA Harbor College at 7 p.m. General admission tickets are just $5. You can actually purchase your tickets at upslsoccer.com/tickets. So don't miss out on this opportunity to take in some great soccer as we bring back Dennis Pope alongside Carlos Torres. Gentlemen, some predictions on this Saturday's game.
We're not going to give score predictions, just so everybody knows. We're just not going to do it. But we do predict a great game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Carlos thinks it's going to be back and forth. I think, there might be some back and forth moments, but I think there is a pretty clear-cut favorite, in this game. And I think everybody would be surprised if that team didn't win. But be that as it may, we all want to see a great game. It will be live on My Cujo, and so you can watch it anywhere in the world. And I think that's the most important thing, is anybody anywhere can watch this game, and it's going to be a great one.
Definitely. I feel it's going to be a high-intensity game, where each team is going to pick and choose their moments of when to go, when to sit. So definitely going to be a real great game to watch. So I would definitely want to catch it live.
So that game is going to be live on My Cujo. Don't want to miss out this Saturday. But that's going to do it for us here in Inside the UPSL. I'm Alex Naveja, and alongside today with me was Dennis Pope and Carlos Torres. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys can join us next Thursday. Hope you guys have a good night.